What's up, YouTube? Welcome to my build diary video. And you can see here, Venom Gyre is right at home, which is Simulacrum. And I did try one of these Simulacrums out. And boy, oh boy, is Headhunter fun to use. And yeah. So I'm going to do like 3 different videos today. First video is going to be build diary. And then I'm going to talk about the state of the game. And then I'm going to talk about the currency money making methods I use to farm the MAGEBLOOD and Headhunters for my group. Something to keep in mind is that my character's gear is actually pretty mediocre outside of the MAGEBLOOD and Omni, purely because it's hard to actually upgrade all your pieces of gear and also be saving up money to buy the apothecaries before they went up in price a lot. So you're going to be seeing some interesting mix of gear. And right here, this is one of the worst parts about Simulacrum, is it's kind of a loot race because you're trying to have your Headhunter buffs go on. And also, something to note is you can see the drastic difference when you sleep a little bit on the right side versus the left side, because I was pretty tired at this point. This was at the end of another 26-hour stream. So let's get straight into it and see what the build diary is all about. So this build diary series I'm going to be doing is I'm pretty much just going to be going over my gear. I'm going to go over the choices I made on each item so you can follow along throughout the league and see what I have actually upgraded. So overall, in the beginning, you always want to play super long sessions if possible for the first 2 days, because everything is way more profitable early on. So if you do a boss early on, for Maven, for instance, and you drop like the legacy boots or whatever from Legacy of Fury, the worm scale boots from Maven, it could be worth 4 divines, while later on it's worth like 50 chaos. And I did focus on buying Omni and MAGEBLOOD before upgrading a lot of pieces of gear, purely because it was good enough. Like, the piece of gear was decent, and to upgrade it, it cost a good amount of money. And I wanted to spend all of my money on buying apothecaries and purchasing the Omni. But I did buy a few like key upgrades that I deemed was worth the money. So let's get straight into the gear overview. So the way we can look at gear is generally, if you ever want to see what my character is wearing, you could always go on PoE Ninja, and I'll link this down in the video description below, is that there's a day 1 and day 2 and latest snapshot. So this pretty much takes a picture of your gear at a certain point in time. So let's go over it. So this claw, and I made a lot of claws, and this was actually probably one of the better ones that was made. And I just kept it around. It's pretty hard if you're going non-brittle with 15%. To get a claw with cold and lightning damage pretty high, and attack speed and crit chance. So this is actually the best one I ended up making, and you might be wondering why is the enchant regular crit chance and not crit chance strength and int, and it's pretty much because I just didn't have to craft right away. And there is a nice part about how GGG changed Exalts and Divines, is that a lot of the expensive crafts from the crafting bench is a lot cheaper. The vegan craft hits can't be evaded is actually super valuable, and it's only 3 exalts, which is 30 chaos and absolutely nothing. So I pretty much was just picking up these bases, and this is actually an eye level 80 base. You want an eye level 82 base because you can get the T1 flat damage, but you don't have the, what's it called, the flat chaos damage. Now, people always ask me, how do you actually craft these claws? And the answer is pretty much just essence spamming. So I think I used the cold essence, or maybe this was a Zeal essence, I think. But basically, this was not crafted with a T2 essence at all, because if you actually look at my current character, put this on real fast. So there's a Kobe Copium Den in here. So basically, if I put it on, you'll see that these rolls are T3, T3, T2. So for this, I definitely use the Shrieking Essence of Zeal, or Screaming Essence of Zeal, and I just ended up hitting that. So when you craft a claw, you're pretty much looking for any of these mods you can use the essence related to. So if you look at here and look at the essences, you can use a Essence of Hatred, Essence of Wrath, Essence of Anger, and Essence of Zeal, and Essence of Loathing. So if I actually did a little bit of a demonstration, you would see here, I would just go like this, and you get a crit chance. So basically right here, you're pretty much looking for 2 rolls. So something like this would be extremely good if all these flat rolls were high. But this one's not great, not great. But this one, you could almost make it, but it's usually pretty hard. So this one here, if it was a T1 cold and attack speed, so eventually you'll get something usable. Like this one right here is 3 to 66, but T3. So at a certain stage, you're pretty much only looking for T2 or T3 or higher rolls, and it's not that easy. It's usually easier to use the Wrath Essence or Hatred because they're a lot higher, so they're a lot easier to roll. So this one was pretty close. So you have to use a lot of these, but eventually, if you keep doing it, you'll hit it. And this is pretty much the #1 way of crafting nowadays. And it's pretty much you keep spamming it, and eventually you might get one. So pretty unlucky here. The crit essence is definitely the worst one. And if you want to make a semi-decent one, I do think that using the hatred and wrath and anger essences are definitely the easiest way. So it could take you a few before you actually get something semi-usable. So this one you could literally craft on attack speed. So like the ones that you guarantee to need are attack speed. Some other way to craft it is you could also go with the fracture mod, and it's a lot easier to craft. If you get a fractured attack speed, you pretty much guarantee one of the mods, right? So anyhow, let's go on to the Blizzard Crown. Blizzard Crown, I actually bought this for 1 Divine, and I'm not really sure how much Blizzard Crowns are now. People ask me the item level. This is only item level 75. So basically, you buy the Blizzard Crown, you spam any essence, whether it's Life Essence, whether it's Spite Essence. So if you look at all of these items you craft, you pretty much want to guarantee one mod through essence spamming, or you can do it with Fractured. And then you pretty much just pray you hit 2 or 3 mods, and then you YOLO exalt the other mods on. That's pretty much the new crafting method for entry level gear. So you might be wondering why I don't have an enchant, because the Venom Gyre enchant is actually one of the most expensive enchants in the game now. And it's actually kind of funny, so good job everyone. Everyone is playing Venom Gyre, and Venom Gyre was actually one of the highest. I don't know what happened to it. So maybe Venom Gyre fell out of favor, but where is it? Maybe it's not enough. But at one point in time, Venom Gyre was actually #1 on this list. Or maybe this is the wrong week. Or maybe low confidence. Oh yeah, 26.7 exalts, right? That's how you know the #1 skill. But basically, I couldn't get the enchant because it was too expensive. And yeah, but the enchant's like 20% damage increase. The amulet, this amulet was terrible early on. I just found. I mean, you can see all these items are terrible because they're low item level. But I got this item really, really early on in the league. I think in the white maps I was doing, so I put on a Black Cold Craft, and then I had no oils because I hate doing blight, and I pretty much just put on an anoint for int. This shield, I crafted with essences. I think I put 1 essence of greed on, and then I got cold res, lightning res, and chaos res, and I thought, oh, that's pretty good to my good. And then I crafted on the flat damage, which I got from the betrayal unveils. And this type of item is pretty interesting to know because it's pretty hard to actually replace an item like this. And this is actually one of a gearing mistake that you could potentially make later on. And the reason being is that it's really hard to replace items when they're like tri-res, since you can't really make up the res. So in order to replace an item like this, you have to get 2 items in order to make up for it. So it's very, very hard. So the rings, let's see, we have, this one is definitely an unveil ring because you see that it is cold damage, lightning damage. So I pretty much did a bunch of betrayal at the beginning because betrayal is usually pretty good for getting gear. And you can also see how good the gear is before even IDing it because you can see what mods are on there. So this one is the same thing as another betrayal unveil piece. And you can see it's because I have nail and channeling skills have -9 to mana cost. And this one I really couldn't really get rid of because it's really hard to get life and then 9 mana cost and also another damage mod on it. So these 2 rings I got pretty early on, and I should have definitely blessed this ring. Now this chest piece I actually bought for, let me see, I think I bought this for 70 chaos early on, and I pretty much just used this chest, slammed the essence of greed on it. So you can see everything I'm making is pretty much essence of greed and any essences in general. And I did aim for getting the aura effect on the Searing Exarch implicit, and then I used the Eater of Worlds and got +5 res. Now this one over here, I don't even remember how I got this, but if you see, it's another really low level item. I probably got it through probably just picking it up off the ground and IDing it. I saw that it had a lot of damage stats. I pretty much crafted life, and I think I YOLO exalted on the lightning damage. And that's something interesting to know is that I was actually using Searing Exarch implicit trying to get rage, but And I just ended up getting strike skills, target one additional nearby enemy. But I didn't really want to go over it, so I just kept this around knowing I would sell it later on. I think I sold this for 2.5 divine. And inflict fire exposure on hit, I think, is the best exposure, or is the best Eater of Worlds implicit, purely because we get the lightning and cold exposure on Hydra Spear. Now, this pair of belt, I did decide to use a strength-based belt, because you can see here my stats are 156, 159. And a lot of people do have issues with attributes, and a strength belt goes a long way. I think I bought this belt for like 10 chaos, and it had light, fire res, and high wed T2. And I crafted on lightning res. Now, this pair of boots is something I actually got really early on. I actually enchanted this myself in the Merciless Lab, and I got fire damage if you kill recently. And this is actually one of the best enchants you can possibly get. And then I decided to put on the Syrian Exarch implicit, so I got 4% action speed. And I got some ailment avoidance, and after that, I couldn't ever really replace this. So you can see this piece of gear is pretty mediocre. It's pretty much another Essence of Greed, and I got some random stuff, and I decided to craft on movement speed cannot be chilled. And as you can see here, I actually didn't get ailment immunity on this build. So I pretty much just used the Pantheon. So I had the Pantheons with the freeze, cannot be frozen, and I usually map with reduced effective shock. And then I have cannot be chilled on the boots. So that's pretty much all you need, unless you're doing like simulacrums or something. And I did buy an interrogation super early on. Interrogation is actually a pretty big survivability increase, purely because it gives you sap, which is 20% damage reduction, and also allows you to get brittle. You can see here, this is my current profile. So brittle you can put at 6, scorched at 3, and I guess sap should be at like 20, and it's usually at 20. So you can see here, sap is actually a pretty big survivability increase. If you look at the fizz hit, it actually goes up a lot higher, deals less damage, up to 20%. So, and then the flasks are just crit chance, attack speed, armor, and reduced effective curses. And I have an instant flask with bleeding. So that's pretty much day 1. So let's go over to day 2. And you can see here that I actually ended up getting a synthesized belt, because I actually swapped the Omni by then. The Omni, I divined it. I used 1 divine and actually got 25%, which is pretty lucky. The synthesized belt is generally a pretty good upgrade. I think the synthesized belt I got for only 3 chaos, and then strength and int. I used a spite essence until I got strength and life on it. And then after that, I crafted on elemental damage. And just to show you exactly how much damage the belt gives, so you can see here my Omni is 959, which is kind of low. Put on the belt, it's like almost 200 Omni roughly. So this is a very effective upgrade. And I think it's pretty cheap overall to try to get it. And here, I want to look at some of the stuff I was doing. Crafted Gear of Essences because it was awful. A Harvest was actually just dreadful. Blizzard Crown base for 1 divine, but the enchant was too expensive. Then this was actually the best claw I made. Omniscience I actually purchased for 15 divines, but it actually went down in price at one point to 9, and now it's at 15. So, and there's actually a lot up now, 36. So I think it's going to be pretty hard to price fix this item higher. So I do think that it will probably stay around that price. And I bought the 6-link chest for 70 chaos and used greed essences. And I actually upgraded my chest. So you can see before on day 1, I actually had a worse chest. And then on day 2, I bought a different chest. So I was trying to upgrade it. And this one here, I used more greed essences. It's kind of like a broken record. Everything is a greed essence. I got 41 strength and 6% physical damage reduction. Now, physical damage reduction is pretty important. It gives you a lot. It's pretty much flat PDR, and it doesn't get affected by the armor formula. And then I used the Gravicious Craft, so I got 6% of Fizz as fire and 5% Fizz as lightning. You can also get another, I think, 8% on your helm. So you could potentially be getting like 20% of Fizz as Ellie without using anything else but the crafts on your helmet and your chest piece, and that's actually a huge survivability increase. So the boots, as I said, were the original ones I found in Merciless Lab, and I did buy this base. So everything else is pretty much the same on day 2. I still had this, the same. And I did, so some people asked me how to make this. I actually found these 3 suffixes by crafting with essences again. I think I used a Dex essence, and I ended up getting T2 suppression and T1 accuracy. And I actually really need accuracy without hits can't be evaded. Oh wait, I found this with Betrayal again, I think. Yeah, because I got the Unveil Craft of 6% increased damage while leeching. And then I decided to YOLO Exalt lightning damage on. And then I crafted on life. So everything I did was mainly through Betrayal. And I bought this cluster, I think was only like 30 Chaos or something. And Calamitous is pretty good. I ended up taking it. And Calamitous is nice because it gives you increased effective non-damaging ailments of 15%. And that's actually usually pretty important. And then I got 2 eye-to-eye repeater clusters, and I am using Interrogation. I put in a Mantra of Flames, and I actually bought this jewel for 1 Divine, just because it looked a little bit too good to pass up. Not really sure if it was really that worth it. I should probably be running a Watcher's Eye instead. And yeah, so the tree. So if you wanted to run the cluster, you have to drop this part of the tree. So you can see here, I dropped the Claw Mastery and over here. So eventually, if I wanted to even increase my damage more, I would probably consider dropping some of these nodes over here. And maybe these nodes perhaps, because I'm not even running 2 Elemental Masteries right now. Or you can drop this part right here. So that's like what you have to drop to get the second cluster. And I am kind of trying to look for a Band of Blades cluster in order to fix up my character. So overall, current character is a weird mix of super expensive and budget pieces. And the new Gravicious Craft was a huge lifesaver for surviving against physical damage. Before I actually got the Gravicious Craft, I did feel like I was dying a lot. And if you're dying a lot, it's pretty much your armor and evasion is not good enough. And there's actually a weird issue with Mageblood that I realized. And Gyre was just not really updating in terms of what's it called, the armor value, but I think it's not too bad now. So you can see you have 31,000 evasion armor, 89% PDR. So if you take off the chest, you can see it goes down by a lot, even though the armor doesn't really go down by that much. But basically, if you're struggling against Viz damage, the Gravicious Craft and the Helmet Craft is a huge deal. And Essence Crafting and YOLO Exalting is probably the best crafting method early on with no harvest. And doing Betrayals helps a lot in trying to get, the gear you need. So you can see here, a lot of my gear was pretty much just Betrayal Unveils early on. So you can get more Betrayal missions here. I have these nodes. I actually have a bunch of Betrayal nodes on my tree. And this is pretty much my Atlas tree. And I will go over the Atlas tree a little bit more in the video about how I made all my currency. So at this point, I kind of want to swap over to a 2 cluster setup. And I do have a claw right here. I want to use hits can't be evaded on. I have an open prefix, but I actually don't have the craft even after doing so much Betrayal. So we'll have to see how it goes. But thanks for watching, everyone. I hope this video helped out everyone in trying to figure out how my character's gear was progressed. And I don't think my gear is really that amazing outside of the Mageblood and Omni. But you have to save up for the big pieces. But thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you find more Mirrors, Exalts, and Magebloods. Divines than me, and see you next time. Bye.